Good morning.
Good morning.
Clock says we're a bit early. Good morning. I'm Mary Cochran, be your worship associate this week. Thank you for being here, whether you're joining us in the pews or online. Lunch bunch today will be at Leaf and Grain, which is on St. Philippi. If you go, mention that you're with Emerson, you might get a discount. Between the service and lunch bunch, we will share coffee and conversation in our gathering place just outside the double doors. We would especially like to welcome our visitors this morning. We're very happy you've chosen to include this place on your spiritual journey. You should have been handed a welcome packet when you arrived. If you did not, we're sorry. Please feel free to ask for one as you exit. That welcome kit contains a yellow card like the one in the pew in front of you, and if you fill it out, we will put you on our twice weekly email list to keep you up to date on what's going on. Reverend Dad is away this month, and our pulpit guest today is Reverend Dr. Dan King. Reverend Dan retired from active ministry during the COVID quarantine period after a regular once-monthly appearance here in Emerson during 2019 and 2020. His ministry is honored by designation as Minister Emeritus of both the First UU Church of Houston and the Thoreau UU Congregation of Fort Bend, where he served during a difficult period of multiple transitions. And now, please enjoy our prelude. Play Rachmaninoff, can't he? And now we transition into our sacred time together, a time of reverence, a time of attention, a time of intention. I invite you to join us in the time marked by the lighting of our chalice flame. I would like to invite Mark Anderson to come forward and light our chalice in the sanctuary, and I invite those of you at home to light a candle where you are to join in spirit. We mark this sacred time with words, important words, that bring us into a time of collective intention. Today, we hear words from Albert Schweitzer. Ludwig Philipp Albert Schweitzer, who lived from 1875 to 1965, was a theologian, organist, musicologist, writer, humanitarian, philosopher, physician, and Lutheran minister. Please join me in reading these words together as they appear on the screen. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within. Emerson is a beloved community of faith, reason, and affection. We welcome all to grow in mind and spirit as we build a better world. We do this by gathering to seek, learn, and grow, and in the course of our work to promote love among each other, our congregation, and the wider community here in Houston. Whether you're here in the sanctuary or joining us online, we welcome you. No matter where you are in your personal spiritual journey, we invite you to live, learn, love, and grow with us. As a covenantal community, we aspire to promote love, fellowship, and social justice, as well as support for your personal growth. Please join me in our welcoming words on the screen. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whichever your pronouns, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here. It is important that we acknowledge that our history is a shared and sometimes harmful one. Our congregation's buildings are situated on the home of the Karankawa and the Atakpa peoples, who lived here for at least 2,000 years before European settlers arrived and very nearly brought about their end. May we recognize, uplift, and support Indigenous voices and communities in our work as a congregation.
I am honored and pleased to be invited by the worship team to fill in for Reverend Ed, who is enjoying a little bit of time off. I have noticed this morning that Facebook tells me that this might be Reverend Ed's birthday. So any of you who would like to communicate your greetings to him via Facebook or email, he might read it sometime in the next few weeks. The words today. Each time we're gathered, we hear words from one of the 6 sources of Unitarian Universalism. Today we have words from David Eaton, Reverend David Eaton, in reading number 557, A Common Destiny. David H. Eaton, who lived for only 60 years from 1932 to 1992, was the first African American to serve as senior minister in a large Unitarian Universalist church. During his tenure, the All Souls Church of Washington, D.C. became a center of community service and social action, and was the first congregation within the Unitarian Universalist Association to achieve a racially balanced black and white membership. So, the reading number 557, A Common Destiny. All living substance, all substance of energy, being, and purpose are united and share the same destiny. All people, those we love and those we know not of, are united and share the same destiny. Birth to death, we share this unity with the sun, with earth, with our brothers and sisters and strangers, the flowers of the field, snowflakes, volcanoes, and moonbeams. Birth, life, death, from the unknown to the known to the unknown. May we have the faith to accept this mystery and build upon its everlasting truth. And now, with the chalices lit and our hearts and minds centered, we often celebrate just a little bit more by singing a hymn. You may stand if you are comfortable doing so, or you may stay seated, but please help us raise our voices and sing our opening hymn, number 317, We Are Not Our Own. I hope the words will be up. Stand to sing.
And for this morning, we have a story by Lynn Gardner, Sustaining the Tree of Life. The tree stood in the middle of the village. Its trunk was so large that it took 6 people holding hands to reach around it. The roots were strong and wide, and its branches spread out over the village square, offering shelter from the rain or shade from the summer sun. Its fruit was juicy, sweet, and plentiful. The people of the village loved the tree. Children played beneath it and climbed its lower branches. Young people knew that if you whispered your dreams to the tree, they were more likely to come true. People who proclaimed their love or friendship for one another beneath its branches found their relationships to be nourishing, and elders discovered that their sweetest memories could be counted on when they were near the great tree. The tree had been witness to so much, and when the breezes blew through the leaves, one could hear echoes of generations, laughter, conversations, dreams, prayers, and songs. Animals loved the tree too. Rabbits lived in burrows under the roots, squirrels and monkeys lived in the branches, and bats and birds flew in to eat the abundant fruit. The tree seemed to buzz with life. One day, a traveling merchant arrived in the village. He rested in the shade and ate 2 pieces of delicious fruit. "This fruit is incredible," he said. "I would like to have some to sell in the next villages that I visit. Who owns this tree?" "No one owns this tree," replied a villager. "If anything, we belong to it." "Well, then, if no one owns the tree, then no one will mind if I pick the fruit," said the merchant, and began to fill a basket. "I mind," said the villager, "and today I am the keeper of the tree." "What do you mean, keeper of the tree?" "We each take our turn being here with the tree. We could never own it. We are here as protectors, as sustainers." "That's ridiculous. This tree doesn't need you. You could just take what you need, take what you want. The tree will continue." But the villager couldn't be persuaded. "Sir, this tree isn't like that. We don't come here to take from it, even though we receive much. We are keepers of the tree because this is where we are nourished. This is where some of our most precious memories are and where our people have dreamed. This is where we remember who we want to become." "Well," said the merchant, "you may think this tree is very special, but it still doesn't need you to sit with it. That is preposterous." "Ah," replied the villager, "the tree itself may not need me, but what of others who come by? Just this morning, I sat with a woman whose heart was heavy with worry. Had I not been there, she would have had to carry that weight alone. And this afternoon, a tired couple came by, and they rested with me. They said they had been looking for a place like this. And then an elder came by, and we watched the birds in the branches together. And now you are here. You were confused about what this tree is and how to be with it. Imagine if you had arrived and not found anyone here to talk with you. You might have continued thinking that everything you do is all about you. Luckily for you, my friend, I'm here to let you know that when you care for the tree of life, it becomes about so much more than just you." And the merchant sat for a while in the shade, thinking about these ideas that felt new and a little challenging. As the sun went down, he picked up his bag and headed out of town, whistling a song that he hadn't thought of in years. On his way, he shared a smile with each person he met, his heart feeling strangely light and joyful. And the people of the village? They continued to sustain the tree of life, to care for one another and to share their gifts with grace and gratitude. May it be so for each of us. And now, Mary will bring us into the offering.
Each time we gather, we ask your help in fulfilling this church's mission. The success of this church and of the principles we support is made possible by the work of our members and friends and by your financial support. We honor that support by striving to live the mission of this place fully and wholeheartedly. Here at Emerson, the collection does not go to funding our church work. It's funded through pledges by our members. This collection each week goes to fund the work of important partners of Emerson who, in our opinion, live out our Unitarian Universalist values in our community and in the world beyond our community. The act of giving our financial support is both a transformative spiritual act and one way we live out our values. 75% of today's offering will go to our July recipient, Disability Rights Texas. The mission of Disability Rights Texas is to help people who live with disabilities to understand and exercise their rights under the law, ensuring their full and equal participation in society. The remaining 25% of today's offering will go, as always, to Interfaith Ministries Meals on Wheels, which provides thousands of meals every day to Houston's homebound seniors. You can go to our webpage for online giving, put cash or a check in our offering basket, or mail a check to the church. During the offering music, I don't see any children, but if there are some I'm missing and they wish to attend RE, now's the time.
I need to share a particular concern that I carry with me this morning. The congregation I served for 9 years in Massachusetts was vandalized on Thursday, the 4th of July, by someone who has extreme problems in their own life. That person decided they didn't like the Black Lives Matter or LGBTQ flags or banners that were out front on the main street of Kingston, Massachusetts. So they put those alight. They broke windows and shutters and went inside the building once they'd broken a window and sprayed fire extinguisher throughout the interior. So my thoughts and prayers and concern is for that community that will surely reaffirm and restore these symbols of commitment to higher ideals. And the persons who were involved, one has been arrested and others are being sought at this time. But at this moment, I would like to read a selection from the Hindu Bhagavad Gita. It's called Brahman. I am the self that dwells in the heart of every mortal creature. I am the beginning, the lifespan, and the end of all. I am the radiant sun among the light givers. I am the mind. I am consciousness in the living. I am death that snatches all. I am also the source of all that shall be born. I am time without end. I am the sustainer. My face is everywhere. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end in creation. I am the knowledge of all things spiritual. I am glory, prosperity, beautiful speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and forgiveness. I am the divine seed of all lives. In this world, nothing animate or inanimate exists without me. I am the strength of the strong. I am the purity of the good. I am the knowledge of the knower. There is no limit to my divine manifestations. Whatever in this world is powerful, beautiful, or glorious, that you may know to have come forth from a fraction of my power and glory. Words from the Hindu holy books, the Bhagavad Gita. I would invite us all to join in a few moments of meditation, and for those who choose, in prayer. I have a second reading today from Black Elk, which comes from reading 614, the Sacred Hoop. Oglala Lakota holy man Black Elk, who lived between 1863 and 1950, into my own lifetime, made a lasting impact on the global understanding of 19th century Plains Indian cultures and religions. Black Elk was involved in some of the most notable events of the American West, and he continues to be celebrated for his vision in his words. The sacred hoop. Then I was standing on the highest mountain of them all, and round beneath me was the whole hoop of the world. And while I stood there, I saw more than I can tell, and I understood more than I saw. For I was seeing in the sacred manner the shape of all things of the Spirit, and the shapes as they must live together like one being. And I saw the sacred hoop of my people was one of many hoops that make one circle, wide as the daylight and starlight. And in the center grew one mighty flowering tree to shelter all the children of one mother, the sky, and one Father, the earth. And I saw that it was holy. Today I decided that I would try to talk with you a little bit about Independence Day this week, and speak with you a few minutes about what I see as the misleading emphasis on independence and what I think of as the essential reality of interdependence, the oneness, the Unitarian unity of it all. I found some really inspiring words by Frederick Douglass and Langston Hughes that I thought I would share excerpts with you. In 1852, Frederick Douglass was speaking on the 5th of July in Rochester, New York. He said, among other things, "What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days in the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham, your boasted liberty an unholy license, your national greatness swelling vanity. Your sound of rejoicing are empty and heartless. Your denunciation of tyrants, brass-fronted impudence. Your shout of liberty and equality, hollow mockery. Your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings with all your religious parade and solemnity are to him mere bombast, fraud, deception, impiety, and hypocrisy, a thin veil to cover up crimes which would disgrace a nation of savages. There is not a nation on earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of the United States." In 1852, Frederick Douglass, being a escaped slave, spoke with bitterness about what he saw all around him at that time. He held out hope that this would change in his lifetime, and by gosh, it did, but not completely. Because Langston Hughes, about 80 years later, wrote this poem, "Let America be America again," which I again excerpt. "Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great strong land of love where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real, and life is free, and equality is in the air we breathe." The free. Oh yes, I say it plain, America never was America to me, and yet I swear this oath, America will be. Now there's some other frames and phrases in Langston Hughes' poetry which have been appropriated by the Republican Party and Donald Trump over and over again. Make America great again. Langston Hughes said essentially, make America be America again. May the dreams be empowered from what we know as the Declaration of Independence. But as I turn to the context of what I say is the misleading emphasis on the American Independence Declaration, when we speak the name of the United States of America. We are using the new name coined by the Founding Fathers during the time of the Declaration of Independence, and then reinforced and actually enabled by the Constitution. We celebrate the 4th of July, misplaced from the actual day of adoption of the Declaration by the Founding Fathers on July 2nd. It was published on July 4th. But we, in my view, should be celebrating September 17, 1787, when the Constitution was signed. Or perhaps July 21st, 1788, when the 9th of the independent states actually adopted the Constitution. And it became a document to build a United States of America. The founders knew that each of the original colonies settled and formed by the British government through various investment schemes over the preceding 150 years had become independent states through the actions of the Revolutionary War, by not the military victories of our Continental Army, but by attrition and exhaustion of the British Parliament and conducting such a war with the opposition of the French. We did not earn our independence. We claimed our independence, but it was not enforceable until the Constitution and the government of the United States was established through that Constitution. Only by mutual consent could those autonomous units, like corporations, be merged and united while remaining semi-autonomous. The Founding Fathers could only hope that their dream of that merger would make them economically viable and politically strong enough to resist external forces, especially the mother country, the then recently created United Kingdom of England and Scotland, and any one of the several economic crises and the half a dozen declared and undeclared wars for the United States to overcome during the ensuing 75 years of conflict with Britain, with France, with Mexico, with pirates in the Mediterranean, and the various insurrections and other internal strife, followed by the tragic and horrible Civil War, could have extinguished that so-called independent state, the United States of America. The affirmation of the Union itself through the Civil War progress was a profound example of that essential truth, in my view. So if we pause for just a moment to think about it, the adjective united thereby reflected the interdependence of those otherwise weaker and historically and potentially permanently warring neighbor states. Many years ago, when I was an undergraduate at the old Institute on Main Street in Houston, which is now recognized as a university, I decided to skip the intro course on economics in favor of a far more attractive course called International Economics. Taught by a young and enthusiastic professor named Gordon Smith, as I recall, we got a full dose of Keynes theories and many graphic illustrations of price and demand curves, along with extensive readings on how free trade would allow for comparative advantage, which in theory could work to maximize mutual benefits across regional and national borders, even across continents. Briefly, those areas which have natural resources of water or climate or fertile soils, who have minerals, oil like Texas, or diamonds like Africa, should be able to leverage those resources by open market exchange with nations or regions which have a surplus of other resources, including intensive investments in manufacturing capital, and those nations with ample population resources. This was the theory that seemed so intuitive. But of course, human capital in under-resourced but overpopulated areas is sometimes undervalued. It's too cheap. And so in one easy example, we were shown how the movement of manufacturing from mills in Britain to the young United States, later to Japan, China, and then Mexico, Thailand, Vietnam, elsewhere, during the industrial and post-industrial periods of the 20th century, was a necessary and ultimately beneficial process over those 200 years since our becoming the United States. In both the 19th and 20th century, according to my young professor nearly 55 years ago, whenever new forms of protectionism or embargoes or other barriers to immigration and free trade become excessive, worldwide economic dislocations were bound to ensue, often resulting in deep recessions or even depressions. This appears, in my view, to have happened about once or twice in each successive generation over the past couple of hundred years, as the ruling classes of certain nations seem to forget the reality of those economic and social consequences of what are essentially politically motivated acts of protectionism over and over again. Even now, as our recent administrations have insisted on threatening other nations with higher tariffs and other forms of market protectionism which attack those arrangements built on the premise of free trade, we are confronted with the ultimate reality that our interdependent worldwide economic, social, and political systems are fragile and can be badly damaged, if not destroyed. I thought about how this idea of independence versus interdependence was part of the debate of our recent General Assembly, which I attended online along with Reverend Ed and Ian and Pat Smith and a couple of other folks. I think David May mentioned that he had been participating in some way, at least listening in. And it occurred to me that there are some analogies. One of those is that the use of the democratic process, however we vote, according to Victoria Safford, a very respected colleague, if we put love at the center, unflinching and insistent, our free faith we so cherish must revere the past and trust the dawning future more, because we believe in evolution, unfolding, not unraveling, and our revelation of truth is not sealed. After the democratic process involving thousands of Unitarian Universalists discussing our values and core theology over more than 3 years, the delegates at the recent General Assembly voted decisively to approve a new statement of values and beliefs, with that nice graphic to illustrate. It's a historic moment for us as we move our living tradition forward to focus on our shared values to promote liberation, radical inclusion, and communal care, to support our interdependence within and across our church and across society. Individual Unitarian Universalists, of course, and our congregations are welcome to continue to hold and value the 7 principles and 6 sources which had been adopted in 1984 and amended several times since. And some of those congregations have adopted the 8th principle to spell out how anti-racism and anti-oppression are central to congregational life and Unitarian Universalist values. But the underlying rationale of General Assembly, I think, is much analogous to what I think of as the Constitutional Convention of 1787. The regular affirmation of our engagement as interdependent, semi-autonomous congregation. I use semi-autonomous as a descriptor intentionally because I think we should always remind ourselves to acknowledge our mutual agreements on shared principles, purposes, values, and priorities about how to lead our lives in general. In congregational polity, which is also a central principle of our faith, theoretically, we can put up boundaries and barriers to the interchange of programs, ministers, and members. But especially in our fluid society, things happen which demand more coordinated responses. And life, as we learn every day, is short. When a hurricane is approaching, it feels much threatened. And when there are only so many ways we can do things, so many costs that we must bear to create wheels over and over and over again in our own lives and in our church lives. Just in the past 8 years, as loyal Americans and as Unitarian Universalists, we have seen responses to threats to our shared ideals and values as a nation, as well as the threats that we perceive about how we conduct our lives. And Unitarian Universalist leadership and followership includes various demonstrations. I think of the Women's March on Washington on January 21, 2017. I believe that we do share values and impatient idealism. We do insist that the life consciousness of our brief time on this one earth must matter. On this weekend, where we are affirming our national ideals of equality before the law, manifest in the original Declaration of Independence, let us also pledge allegiance not just to the flag of our nation, but to the ideals which that flag has represented to so many generations of idealists around the world, and to the validity of the necessity of our recognition of the interdependence of all nations, of all peoples, wherever they live, in the survival and health and prosperity of humanity, and the survival of a world which we can actually occupy in climate change. I understand that the ideals of freedom manifest in the Declaration of Independence are what encapsulate the dream about what America could be. But the Constitution tells us how we can live together and how we can balance the interests of various components of our society and between individuals. And we abandon our sense of that importance of that Constitution document and in practice, and the balance of power between the three different aspects of our national government. If that is not respected by our courts, by our Congress, and by our executive, we are at threat of losing not only our independence, but our very national identity. And so I would ask you to consider carefully, as Unitarian Universalists, emphasizing those values, all of them centered on love and respect and honoring the interdependence of all things, especially all humanity, to make the choices which will preserve our Constitution and our identity as Americans in the United States of America. Thank you for your attention on this 4th of July weekend. Please join now in singing our closing hymn, number 318, Finlandia, with words proposed and adopted through one of our Unitarian minister colleagues. We would be one. Stand as you feel comfortable.
Ourselves anew.
At the conclusion of our service, we must extinguish our chalice, so I invite Mark Anderson to come and finish the job he began. This flame has served as a reminder to us that our time together this morning is sacred, a time set apart. In the words of my colleague Brian Keeley from Alberta, Canada, the chalice is now extinguished, but its light lives on in the minds and hearts and souls of each one of us. We pray that we can carry that flame with us as we leave this place and share it with those we know, and those we love, and most especially with those we have yet to meet. Those who have brought this service today all join with me in expressing our gratitude for your presence this morning. It's hell to preach to an empty house. For those of you who have joined us on YouTube after the postlude, we'll be ending our live streaming service. And thanks to all our online attendees. We look forward as the Emerson congregation to hosting you again soon. May we be more and more aware during the course of the week of the communities of which we are part. May we be more and more aware of our individual part in all those communities, including our voting precincts. May we be more and more aware of how those communities co-create our journeys with us, and may we be more and more aware of how we co-create their journeys with them. Blessed be, may be it so. Amen.